Ages have passed since the gods walked among us. Before the war that divided us for eternity.
You're not fit to be king. It's my turn now.
Set has taken over Egypt and enslaved its people. Only one God can save us.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. You may remember a few months ago there was a news story that Alex Proyas, the director of Gods of Egypt, had kicked off about film critics, specifically about film critics not liking his most recent film, but in general, all film critics being essentially rubbish and evil. What he said, because I don't want to misquote him, he said that film critics are a pack of diseased vultures pecking at the bones of a dying carcass. He went on to say that they have no personal taste or opinion because they are basing their views on the status quo. None of them are brave enough to say, well, I like it if it goes against the consensus. Therefore, they are less than worthless. Now, there's many reasons to disagree with this. I mean, they're going against the consensus. Hey, I was one of the people who like Warcraft, and the consensus is that Warcraft has not gone down well with the critics. And today, I finally got to see Gods of Egypt. And believe me, I went into Gods of Egypt wanting to like it. Why? Well, because it'd be interesting to like a film that everybody else didn't like. And actually, if a filmmaker starts saying, well, all the critics hate my movie, isn't it more interesting if you find things in it to admire? I really went in wanting to find things in Gods of Egypt that I like. I mean, Proyas' previous films have included Dark City, which I thought was pretty good, and The Crow, which is an interesting, if flawed film. So, my mind was as open as it was possible to be for about 5 minutes until I realised that Gods of Egypt isn't just bad, it's intergalactically, stupidly bad in a way that all those critics who slagged it off before were only scratching the very surface of. This is a film that made me nostalgic for the days of Clash of the Titans. And when I say that, I don't mean the original Clash of the Titans, I mean the utterly rubbish remake of Clash of the Titans, a film that was so poor that even its director, Louis Leterrier, thought it looked a bit rubbish when seen in 3D. How bad is Gods of Egypt? It's a film which makes you want all the way through to escape into the safe haven of sleep, but sadly you can't because it's so big, so noisy, and so fantastically, irritatingly dumb that it's impossible to drop off. And believe me, I tried.
Then become stronger.
But let's get down to some specifics. The story of Gods of Egypt, and incidentally, I use the word story in the loosest possible terms, takes place somewhere between Earth and heaven, although I spent the entire 2-hour running time thinking I was in some form of hell, some seventh ring of burning horror. It's a film which cost $140 million, most of which have apparently gone on the special effects, and one really wonders what they did with them. Honestly, I have seen computer games with better special effects. I don't mean computer games that you play at home on your big computers. I mean computer games in arcades that people used to play back in the 1980s. You know, when Back to the Future was in cinemas. I mean, like Space Invaders, but worse. Problem number 2, the script. Now, this is one of those scripts which mixes sort of history and fantasy, but does so in a way which considers itself to be cheeky, a little bit cocky.
I'm sorry that the corpses of my parents have inconvenienced you. Apology accepted.
Every other line is a joke, a sly, ironic aside, except these are the kind of sly, ironic asides that the Chuckle Brothers would have said, that's a bit of a rubbish joke, isn't it? Let's just leave it out. To me, to you.
Careful. I outnumber you.
Thirdly, and this is the film's most staggering flaw, the performances. Now, what's really interesting about the movie is it has basically an international cast of people, all of whom appear to be speaking English as a second language. Even the ones for whom English is not only the first language, but clearly the only language they know. Everybody on screen appears to have studied at the Don Cheadle school of this is what an English accent sounds like.
That was not only extremely stupid.
They all also appear to be reading the script whilst learning for the first time how to use their mouths. It's like watching space aliens discovering how to speak Earth speak, but entirely programmed by a computer working on an old version of LocoScript 3.
Only a madman would try such a thing.
Where do you suppose we could find someone so mad?
As an indication of just how bad the performances are, think about this. Gerard Butler manages to act everyone else off screen. How does he do that? Well, basically by virtue of playing Gerard Butler. I mean, it's the performance that he did in 300, it's the performance that he did in London Has Fallen, he's going to do it again now. Just imagine the production meeting which somebody said, well, Gerard, interestingly enough, in this film set in prehistory Egypt, everyone is going to speak with a strange English accent. To which Gerard Butler said, no, I'm going to do Gerard Butler.
Who bring them reckoning?
There is, of course, one performance which it really is worth seeing, and that's the performance of Geoffrey Rush. Geoffrey Rush has been cast in the role of person in the film to remind you that this film was made through Antipodean tax breaks. I think his entire performance must have taken a day to phone in. He's a sun god. He's in outer space. He's fighting with laser beams and fireballs and... No, actually, he's just picking up the check and going, are we done now? Fine. Bye. Other questions remain unanswered, such as, if the gods living on Earth are giants, exactly how tall are they meant to be? Because as far as I can tell, their height kind of changed from scene to scene. Also, why are all the primary characters white? And why are they doing that really strange accent? Wouldn't it just have been easier to let them all speak in their own voices? You know, the one thing it did demonstrate to me was this. When Alex Proyas went off on one about how terrible critics were, he did get one thing absolutely right. He described critics as a pack of diseased vultures. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Vultures don't feed on living things. They don't kill things that are breathing and vibrant. Vultures peck away at things that are dead, that are rotten, that are decomposing, foul-smelling, that are basically putrefying. In that respect, Alex, I'm happy to say, I am indeed a vulture, and your film's roadkill.
Is that a storm?
Sets hunters riding their pets.
We should run!
Run?
We mortals do it all the time!